We are now going to go to Angola to talk to Willie James Inman, who is in that nation with the president right now, President Joe Biden. Willie, we understand the U.S. has a response about the situation, the declaration of martial law in South Korea. What is that?
Hey there, Reed. We're just getting this in, but also note that President Biden was asked about this situation, and he said, "I'm just getting briefed," in response to reporters' questions about the situation in South Korea. But we do have a statement from an NSC spokesperson. I'll just read that statement for our viewers. It says the administration is in contact with the Republic of Korea government and is monitoring the situation closely as we work to learn more. The U.S. was not notified in advance of this announcement. We are seriously concerned by the developments we are seeing on the ground in the Republic of Korea. And also note that officials said, as the president said himself, that he was being briefed on the situation. This, of course, is a major concern for the United States, which is a major partner of South Korea, a key ally in that region. And also note there's a significant military presence in South Korea as well. So the United States, of course, concerned about that growing situation and will be bringing you any further details we get as the president travels here and continues his trip in Angola.
And Willie, while we talk to you in Angola, we are looking at, in a split screen just a second ago, live pictures there on the ground in Seoul, South Korea. There they are again, and you can see police on the ground. A moment ago, we saw military vehicles on what is otherwise a series of peaceful streets there in South Korea. Unnerving, to say the least, on the South Korean peninsula. You know, Willie, we've heard in recent weeks many officials from the United States talking about the U.S. continued commitment on the Korean peninsula, especially for South Korea, as it speaks to economic partnerships as well. Of course, the history of military support there in South Korea is long and storied between the United States and South Korea. Talk to us about the position, at least from the White House, regarding being behind South Korea from an economic standpoint. That was a big narrative during the recent APEC summit.
Yeah, it certainly is. South Korea is a major trading partner. There are not only major appliances, TVs, everything you could think of, electronics, everything you can really get your hand on that are exported to the United States that American consumers purchase. Vehicles, of course, as well, with major manufacturers like Kia and Hyundai being based in that country. I will also note that South Korea isn't necessarily in the best neighborhood. You have to the north, of course, North Korea. And so the United States has maintained that presence for decades, and not only in South Korea, but also in Japan as well, nearby. Now, Japan and Korea have a storied history. There have been tense moments, but the U.S. in recent years has been able to bring all three countries to a trilateral meeting where you have a lot more cooperation happening between Japan and South Korea as well. So the United States closely involved, a close and key ally, and the president monitoring the situation just as we have, and an NSC spokesperson saying that they weren't informed ahead of time, which is perhaps quite surprising, but still nonetheless, this is a surprising situation. Seoul is a place, a really peaceful place. I've been there myself. I read, and it's really interesting and quite shocking to see all of this happen there on those streets.
It absolutely is. I was there for the Winter Olympics not many years ago, and the ties between the United States and South Korea, they are deep there. And so to see these streets filled with such uncertainty at this hour is definitely cause for concern. Willie, while we have you there in Angola, the President Joe Biden, also had a lot to say regarding the history of slavery. We want to play what the president had to say and then have a conversation with you on the other side of that. Let's listen to that.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, I'm in the final weeks of my presidency. You don't have to clap for that. You can if you want. But I wanted to come to Angola. Although I've been chairman of the African American Subcommittee for a long time, I'd never made it to Angola. Because although I don't know exactly what the future will hold, I know the future runs through Angola, through Africa. I mean it sincerely. I'm not kidding. I know that any nation that wants to thrive in the next century must work as partners with workers, entrepreneurs, and businesses here in Africa. I know that the connection between our communities, our universities, our sports, our civil societies, our families, our people will only grow deeper. We have to stay focused. The story of Angola and the United States holds a lesson for the world. Two nations with a shared history and evil of human bondage. Two nations on opposite sides of the Cold War, defining struggle in the late part of the 20th century. And now, two nations standing shoulder to shoulder, working together every day for the mutual benefit of our people.
All right, so President Joe Biden there in Angola, wrapping up what will likely be his last official visit as the President of the United States on an international level. You know, talking about slavery there, but also driving the conversation forward. Willie, are you seeing an emerging conversation in the world as it relates to Africa, the entire continent, and the possibilities for economic partnerships that we haven't seen in recent decades?
Well, at least for the United States, because experts will point out that the U.S. is late to the game, that you've had players like China and Russia already with deep roots, deep economic ties, deep infrastructure projects here within Africa on the continent after things like critical minerals. This is part of why the president is here. He's here to talk about what's known as the Lobido Corridor. That is a rail connection that will connect a major port on the west coast of Angola to the rest of the world, to the United States. It's going to bring those critical mineral deposits from the Democratic Republic of Congo to the coastline to be exported to the United States. Those minerals are used for things such as EV, vehicle batteries, also used for cell phones, everything you can think of. The future of green energy really runs through the African continent, and the United States knows that, and that's why you're seeing this major project, some billions, $3 billion worth contributed by the United States for this railroad project. I'll note that China, as I mentioned, has the upper hand here, and the U.S., although they might not necessarily say that, we talked to John Kirby earlier today, and he said this isn't about the U.S. pushing back against one nation, but the writing is on the wall, Reed, with China and Russia as major players on the African continent, and the president perhaps looking to not only solidify his legacy, but boost this partnership with Angola, with other nations. He's actually going to visit the town of Lobido tomorrow to visit this port and get a look at it for himself to see where all of those U.S. dollars are going and what it means for the U.S. economy and the world as a whole. Reed.
We appreciate the conversation. We know you're traveling with the president. We also know, because of the time difference, Willie, that you work very long days in order to be on CBS News 24/7 and our other CBS broadcasts. You have our gratitude. We thank you so much.
Bet.